नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयम् उदीरयेत् नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च नंदगोपकुमाराय गोविंदाय नमो नमः। Hare Krishna. So last week, what was the name of the chapter? The process of creation. In that chapter, Shukdev ji hasn't described the process of creation, but Parikshit Maharaj had asked the question. उन्होंने प्रश्न किया था कि creation कैसे होता है, how the creation happens. और Shukdev Goswami he started answering. उन्होंने प्रश्न क्या था उनका ये था, 3 प्रश्न उन्होंने किए थे, asked 3 questions. एक तो ये भगवान सृष्टि को कैसे रचना करते हैं, how he maintains it, how he creates it, and then how he winds it. भूय एव विवित्सामि भगवान आत्म माया यथेदम सृजते विश्वम. भगवान अपनी माया से कैसे इस विश्व की रचना करते हैं, how he creates this yathe idam, this vishwam. I want to know that. And which is even difficult for the demigods, the powerful demigods. They don't even know how the creation happens. That was the first question. And then his next question was yathedam, how he maintains this. Yes. And then yathe gopayati, how he maintains this, and then how he sanyachate puna, how he winds it up again. So that was his question. And then he asked finally, does he does this thing by himself or does he engage someone else? Yam yam shaktim upashritya, puru shakti parapuma. That supremely powerful Lord, which all other energies does he engage, or does he does it by himself? So this is what he wanted to know. And then Shukdev Goswami, before he answered his question, he offers many prayers. He offers many prayers to the Supreme Lord even before he starts speaking. Almost 13 verses he has prayed. In the very first verse, he's saying, Tasmai Nama Purushaya Bhuyase. To that Supreme Lord, I am offering my prayers. Who, for the creation, for the maintenance, who accepts the 3 modes of material nature. Then he says, Bhuyo Nama, I pray him again. Then he says, Namo Namastute. Once again in the next verse, he is again offering his that I pay my obeisances again. Then he says, Tasmai Subhadra Shravase Namo Nama. That Supreme Lord who is to be heard, right? Shravase, who is to be heard with the choicest of words, who is to be described. I offer my obeisances to him. 3 times he repeats this prayer in 3 verses. Tasmai Subhadra Shruvase Namo Nama. He offers his prayers once again. And then he says that may that Supreme Lord be merciful to me. Bhagwan Prasidatam. Prasidatam may Bhagwan Satam Pati. Once again, may that Lord be merciful to me. So the point that I'm trying to make, Prabhuji Mataji, even before you speak anything about the Lord, he is offering so many prayers. He is offering so much gratitude to the Lord before he even say anything. He hasn't even spoken. Right? And then he says, Tasmai Namo Bhagavate Same Bhagwan Mukundo Prasidita. That Supreme Lord who gives the liberation, may that Lord be merciful to me. Once again. Same Bhagwan Rishinam Rishbho Prasidhata. Once again, who is the topmost in the Rishis? May that Lord be merciful to me. And then finally he says, before I speak, may that Supreme Lord decorate my tongue. वो मेरी वाणी को अलंकृत करे. Yeah. Solank Sreshto Bhagavan Vachamsi में. Now may that Supreme Lord speak. Because if you want to glorify the Lord has to give you the power to glorify you. Otherwise you cannot glorify him. And for the people who are listening, they also have to be glorified, right? In the sense that they also have to feel that glorification of the Supreme Lord to be able to hear that. Because it is that Supreme Lord who is enjoying Solank Sreshta Bhagavan Prasidhata. And then he finally says in the last verse of the chapter, he says, Etad hi Atma Bhurajan. Yeah. Naradaya Viprichate. Yeah. Ved Garbho Vedad Shakshad Yad Aha Harir Atman. Then he says, similar question was asked by Naradji to his father. Atmabhu is Brahmaji. Atmabhu, who is self-born, right? Naradji had asked to his father same question. And what was the question? How this universe is created, how it is maintained, and how the Supreme Lord winds it up. Once again, these three questions. Very simple. We need to ask, right? We write our will, before I die, may this thing happen to me, right? You go and your lawyer tells, will banaya apne? Will bana lo Prabhu, kabhi bhi jana pad sakta hai, bacche pareshan ho jayenge piche se, So, but the Supreme Lord, he is winding up the whole universe. Think about it. Whether he is writing any will for anyone to take care, how he maintains it. So very important question to be asked. Yeah. So then he says that I am going to speak to you whatever was spoken, questioned by Naradji to Brahmaji and Harir Atmana. That Supreme Lord who had Atmana is to his own son. Bhagavan spoke to his own son who was Brahma. And then Brahmaji told this to Naradji, I am going to speak the same to you. Yeah. So in today's chapter, the chapter is titled The Cause of All Causes. Yeah. And also it is titled Srishti Varnan, how it is created. Right. So we will discuss that. Let's take one verse and then we will get further into that. So today is verse number. You can see my screen. I think I should share on Zoom also. Please repeat. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Sattvam Rajastama iti.
Sattvam Rajastama iti.
Sattvam Rajastama iti.
Sattvam Rajastama iti.
Nirgunasya gunastrayah.
Nirgunasya gunastrayah.
Nirgunasya gunastrayah.
Nirgunasya gunastrayah.
Sthiti sarga nirodheshu.
Sthiti sarga nirodheshu.
Sthiti sarga nirodheshu.
Sthiti sarga nirodheshu.
Grahita mayaya prabho.
Grahita mayaya prabho.
Grahita mayaya vibho.
Grahita mayaya vibho.
Word by word translation. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. Please repeat. Sattvam, the mode of goodness. Raja, the mode of passion. Tama, the mode of ignorance. Iti, all these. Nirgunasya, of the transcendence. Gunatraya, or are three qualities: sthiti, maintenance, sarga, creation, nirodheshu, in destruction, grahita, accepted, mayaya, by the external energy, vibho, of the Supreme. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. Please repeat. The Supreme Lord is pure, spiritual form, transcendental to all material qualities, yet for the sake of the creation of the material world and its maintenance and annihilation, he accepts through his external energy the material modes of nature called goodness, passion, and ignorance. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki. Please hear. The Supreme Lord is the master of the external energy manifested by the three material modes, namely goodness, passion, and ignorance. And as master of this energy, he is ever unaffected by the influence of such bewildering energy. The living entities, the jivas, however, are affected by or susceptible to being influenced by such modes of material nature. That is the difference between the Lord and the living entities. The living entities are subjected by those qualities, although originally the living entities are qualitatively one with the Lord. In other words, the material modes of nature, being products of the energy of the Lord, are certainly connected with the Lord, but the connection is just like that between the master and the servant. Master and the servants. The Supreme Lord is the controller of the material energy, whereas the living entities who are entangled in the material world are neither masters nor controllers. Rather, they become subordinate to or controlled by such energy. Factually, the Lord is eternally manifested by his internal potency or spiritual energy, just like the sun and its rays in the clear sky. But at times, he creates the material energy as the sun creates a cloud in the clear sky. As the sun is ever increasingly unaffected by a spot of cloud, so also the unlimited Lord is unaffected by the spot of material energy manifested at times in the unlimited span of the Lord's rays of Brahma Jyoti. Yeah. We will come to this verse, but essentially in this verse, what Brahmaji is telling Naradji is that Supreme Lord, he's basically describing the position of the Supreme Lord in comparison to himself. So and rather all the living entities. Yeah. But when we go through the whole chapter, then it will become much clearer. Yeah. Let's do Mangalacharan and then we will discuss. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padkamlam Shri Gurum Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitantam Sajivam Savadhetam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchan Gaurangi Shri Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarobhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा।
हरे
कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। भूते महद्भिर्यैमा पुरो विभो निर्मायशीते यदमूष पुरुषा। भुङ्क्ते गुणान् षोडशात्मकम् सोलंक श्रेष्ठ भगवान वचांसि मे। श्री कृष्ण शरणागतं कथा अमृतं सतत पीबतं। भक्ति वेदांत मार्ग पंथनम सर्वदेव जन्म प्रसन्नम। सर्वलोक ऋषि देव जन्म प्रसन्न। Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Mataji, please pray that I'm able to speak the right, may the right words come at the right time. May we are truly able to glorify the Supreme Lord for the pleasure of Srila Prabhupada and Srila Guru. Hare Krishna. So today's the topic is, what is the name of the today's chapter? Cause of all causes. Share my screen with them. So in this chapter, there are 6 sections. First section, Narad's question. The same question that were asked by Parikshit Maharaj, they are asked in more detail by Narad. So we will look at those questions. Then Brahma clarifies Narad's false convictions, and we will understand what was the convictions. Then Brahmaji answers 3 questions. So pretty much next 3 chapters, 5, 6 and 7, we will be answering these 6 questions. So that will cover the question by Naradji. We'll go through that. And I told you, we also discussed the Lord's Virat Roop in the first chapter. That was in the context of Ashtanga Yoga. But here we will discuss the same Virat Roop, but to answer the creation. And then we'll discuss his creation again, Virat Roop again in the 9th and 10th chapter. That will, but different context. So Brahmaji will answer the questions. Then Brahma versus Lord. Brahmaji clarifies Narad about Jeev Tattva and the Vishnu Tattva, because Naradji first thinks Brahmaji is the Supreme Lord. And then the description of the Virat Roop once again. Yeah. And then before that, he asks us a 3rd question. So let's look at that. What are the Narad's questions? So Naradji asks 6 questions. The first question he asks is Yad Rupam. So what happened is, Naradji went to Brahmaji, and then he tells to Brahmaji, Dev Deva Namastestu Bhut Bhavana Purvaja Tad Vijani Yat Jnanam Atma Tattva Nidarshan. वो जाके अपने फादर से कहते हैं ब्रह्मा जी से, हे ब्रह्मा जी, आप देव देव हो, you are the god of the demi, you are the superior, namastestu, I bow down to you, and you are a bhut bhavan, you have created this whole universe, all the living entities are created by you, right? Purvaja, and you are the firstborn, you are the firstborn, you are not only my father, you are father of all the living entities. Tad vijanihi. मैं वो आपसे जानना चाहता हूँ. I want to know that knowledge, yat jnanam. Yeah, that knowledge मैं आपसे लेना चाहता हूँ. Please give me that knowledge which will give me tattva, right? आत्म तत्व निदर्शनम. आत्म तत्व is आत्मा का जो परमात्मा से संबंध है, about the supreme Lord, about the living entity. Please tell me that tattva. You know, tattva is what? Essence. What is the essence? What is the essence of this whole creation? Why have you created this? How is it related? So like this, Naradji goes to Brahmaji, that Atma Tattva Nidarshanam, and you are not just my father, you are father of all the living entities. And then he poses this question. He says, Yad Rupam, Yad Adhishthanam, Yatah Sreshtam Idam Prabho. Yad Rupam, Yad Adhishthanam, Yada Sreshtam Idam Prabho. And then Yat Samstham, Yat Param, Yat Cha Tat Tattvam Vad Tattvata. Yes. So these are the 6 questions that he asked. And we'll try to understand the answer. Yad Rupam, what are the characteristics of this universe? Yes. What is its shelter? You know, today only I was thinking, I was reading that China sent some spacecraft, and they were saying the debris of the spacecraft will fall into ocean or somewhere. You know, when it flies, so there is something that takes it up. And I was just started thinking, you know, we're still trying to reach moon or space and trying to research all of that. You know, as a scientist, we try to do that. But here, the whole universe, our thinking, we don't even go beyond this universe. What is there? So that's what Naradji is asking. कि इसका ये कैसे hang कर रहा? How is it hanging together? Yad Adhishthanam, इसका रूप कैसा है? इसकी shelter कैसी है? How it was created? How the universe was created? Do we ever question? No. We getting water from the rivers. That's it. Maybe the river was ever flowing. When we were born, river was there. When we die, river will be there. So we never bothered to ask. Isn't it? But we should question. Yad Samstham. How is it conserved? Or how it, when it like annihilates, where does it go? The universe. And what it depends on, once again. So 2 and 5 are similar questions. Right? So that shows that sometimes we ask general questions. You know? And then what is it composed of? What are the ingredients of the universe? Right? So these are the 6 questions that he asked. And then he says, and then Narad now, because he's already said to him that you are the father of everyone. So Narad is still thinking. So this is a very important point. Sometimes Naradji, does he not know? He is always going around and singing Narayan, Narayan, Narayan. Yes? Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Narayan, Narayan. Narayana, Narayana, Narayan. Narayan ka meaning kya hai? Narayan means, Nar means, it is a plural for Nar. Nar means one and Nar means plural. And Ayan means all the Nar, all the plurals, whose shelter they take to, jiski wo sharan mein jaate hain, unko Narayan kehte. That is one meaning. Nar also means the water. One who is lying into the water, उनको भी नारायण कहते हैं. संस्कृत में बहुत सारे मीनिंग है. तो वो भी नारायण है. तो ये कह रहे हैं, तो नारद जी thought that you are the only supreme, there is no one above you. Yeah, so that's what Narad ji was thinking. तो नारद जी फिर ब्रह्मा जी से कहते हैं, you know everything about the creation. सर्वम ही एतद, yes, सर्वम ही एतद वेद भवान. You yourself, you know everything. भूत भव्य भवत प्रभु. भूत is जो past में हुआ है, भव्य जो future में होने वाला है, और जो हो रहा है. You know everything and you are responsible for everything. ये नारद जी is telling to Brahma ji. भूत भव्य भवत प्रभु. That you know everything, right? And you are the knower of everything. And then he says that, and your knowledge. Then he gives an analogy also. Your knowledge is like kara amlaka vat vishwam. या विज्ञानम आवसितम तव करा आमलक, जैसे कर कहते हैं हाथ में आंवला जो होता है। उन्होंने कहा जैसे अभी आपसे पूछा जाए आंवला कैसा होता है या नींबू कैसा होता है, आप उसको हाथ में रख के बोलोगे अरे ये तो ऐसा, इसका येलो कलर है, दिस इज राउंड लाइक दिस। तो ब्रह्मा जी को नारद जी कह रहे हैं जो यूनिवर्स है इट इज इन योर हैंड लाइक अ आंवला, बिकॉज यू आर द सुप्रीम इंजीनियर, you have created this universe. So he says your knowledge is like as an engineer who constructs a building, he knows everything about it. So he says you know everything. करा अमलक वत विश्वम, पूरा विश्व आपके हाथ में आंवले की तरह रखा हुआ है। So that's how you know it. विज्ञानम अवसितम तव, in my view you know everything or you are the responsible for everything actually. जो हुआ है, जो हो रहा है, जो होगा, you are responsible for everything and it is as simple as that. But then he asked, नारद जी फिर ब्रह्मा जी से पूछते हैं further question, यद विज्ञानम यद आधारम यद परस्तम यद आत्मक, लेकिन ये जो आपका नॉलेज है, विज्ञान है, इसका आधार क्या है? यद विज्ञानम, right? How did you get this knowledge? Or where are you getting this knowledge? You know, Vigyan, Gyan and Vigyan, there are two things. Gyan means what? Theoretical knowledge. And Vigyan means what? Realization. Idam tu te parvakshyami. भगवान कृष्ण अर्जुन को 9.1 में कहते हैं कि I am telling you this knowledge. Idam tu te parvakshyami. Because you are not envious. And this knowledge, Gyan Vigyan Sahitam. यद ज्ञात्वा मोक्ष से अशुभात, you know, ज्ञान और विज्ञान दोनों मिल जाएगा. I'll give you ज्ञान and I will give you विज्ञान also. विज्ञान is realization also. Sometimes we read the theory but we don't have any realization. How you will get that realization? That will answer in the third canto. In the third canto, when Vidurji is speaking to Maitreyi, after hearing from Maitreyi, in the third canto, 5th chapter, we will again talk about the creation. Vidurji will ask this question to Maitreyi also, different context. And then Maitreyi, as if he is asking him, Are you are the son of Vyasdev? We only think Shukdev Goswami is the son of Vyasdev. Don't forget, Pandu Maharaj was also son of Vyasdev. Yes. Dhritarashtra was also son of Vyasdev. Vidur is also son of Vyasdev. And Pandavas, they had the association of Vyasdev like they go to their father. So Maitreyi ji, as if asking Vidur ji, आपको क्या व्यासदेव जी से ज्ञान नहीं मिला जो you come and ask me? व्यास जी and Maitreyi ji, they were friends. Maitreyi ji व्यासदेव जी के फ्रेंड थे. तो विदुर जी ने कहा कि नहीं, मैंने सुना तो है, I heard from my father, but that was all Mahabharata and other things, but I did not get the realization. And from you also I have heard it, but I know the true realization will come only yascha charan seva aham. When I do this, offer the service to your lotus feet, only then I will get the realization. You have given me the gyan, you have spoken to me everything, but realization, I won't have realization until I serve your feet. Right? So very important. Vigyan means realized knowledge. So here Naradji is asking Brahmaji, Yad Vijnanam Yad Adharam. Right? What is the source of your Vijnan, your realization? Because I don't see anyone else. You are the Supreme Father. Bhut Bhavan Purvajam. Everybody is born from you. Yad Adharam. What are you sustaining on? आपका आधार क्या है? Yad Parastvam. Who is your superior? Para is in superior. Who is your superior? Yad Atmakar. आपका स्वरूप क्या है? See, valid questions. So Naradji is asking. And then he says, Ekah Srajasi Bhutani. Ekah, you yourself. आप अकेले ही Bhutani, all the living entities. You create all these living entities. And you create all these living entities by using all these 5 elements. Bhuter. Eka srajasi bhutani, bhuter atma maya. Bhut, ye jo 5 jo gross elements hai. He's saying you use these 5 gross elements and you creating this they are all these bhutani by yourself, by your own power. बहुत बड़े अचरज की बात है. It is like very, I am so astonished. How do you do this? So what is the source of your realization? What is your Adhar? What is your Swarup? And who is your superior? I want to know that. And not just that. He says, you creating this universe like a spider. Urn nabhir iva kalman. He gives this analogy. Urn nabhir iva kalman. He says, Atmana bhavyase. Atmana bhavyase tani. Atmana, you create all these living entities. Tani in all these living entities. Na para bhavyan swayam. आप में कोई विकार नहीं आता है. ओम पूर्णमद पूर्णमिदम पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते. पूर्ण से पूर्ण ही आता है. So he's saying you create all these living entities, but you are not affected. Yeah, Atmana bhavyase tani na para bhavyan swayam. Yeah, Atma Shaktim. Yeah, your own power you are using to create this, and he gives an analogy. Urn nabhir. जो spider उसको urn nabhir कहा जाता है. उसका पेट ऐसे निकला होता है ना. You see, if you look at the spider, and the spider analogy, Brahmaji gives spider analogy in 9th canto when he's glorifying the Supreme Lord. Spider analogy क्यों दी जाती है? क्योंकि what spider does, spider अपना, he creates his own net. Spider net बनाता है, web बोलते हैं, cobweb, क्या बोलते हैं उसको, web. So he creates his web. How he creates his web? From his own saliva. He doesn't need anyone's help, right? From his own saliva, he will create the web. After he has created the web, he will freely wander into the web. He doesn't get entangled into that web, right? Whereas you see other mosquitoes and other insects, they come and they get entangled into that net. But spider just creates it by his own energy without any support. Then he moves around it, and then when he thinks it's done, then he also winds it up. So that's the analogy given for the Supreme Lord, that you create this universe, you wander into this universe, you don't get affected by any material modes, right? That is today's verse that we discussed. Yes. Yeah. Nirgunasya gunastraya. Nirgun hai Bhagavan. Yeah. But he accepts these three modes. Why? Sthiti, Sarga, Nirodhesh. Sthiti for maintenance, Sarg for creation, and Nirodhesh for annihilation. He accepts these modes. How he accepts these modes? Maya. By his external energy, but he is not affected. So similarly, Naraji is saying to Brahmaji, Urn Nabhir Iva Kalma. You create this universe, but I don't see you are not affected at all. आपके अंदर कोई विकार नहीं आता है. आप इसको create करते हो, you are always in the bliss. I don't see any change in you. And then he says, Naham Ved Para Asmin. Naham Ved Param Hi Asmin. I don't know anyone superior than you. Naham Ved Param Hi Asmin. Aparam Samam Vibho. ना कोई आप सुपीरियर है, ना कोई इंफीरियर है, ना कोई आपके बराबर है. रूप, नाम, गुणेर भाव्यम. Something which can be described by रूप. आप जैसे किसी को कंपेयर करते हो, you say this is stronger than this. For example, two objects. You describe a truck. It's a big truck, and truck is bigger than car because car is small, 4 wheels. Truck, it has 12 wheels. So you're describing that route. Yeah. By name, you give some, like dangerous, some dangerous name. Air Force, F1, like American planes. You say F1 landed, right? F1 means President of America, right? So these names, right? Gun, the qualities you are describing. Qualities like the missile can be shot 1,000 miles, 100 miles. The plane can fly these many miles without refill petrol. So you describe, you do comparative. So Narad ji is telling Brahmaji, Naham Ved Param Hi Asmin. कोई भी ऐसी चीज मैं नहीं जानता हूं जो आपके बराबर हो, या जो आपके ऊपर हो. Inferior मतलब, or you are not inferior to anything. Right? In my opinion, you are the superior. But I have a doubt. Sa Bhavan, he says, you who is that powerful. So far he has described, where are we now? You are self-sufficient, yeah? I know no other source for the creation superior, medium, or inferior to you, but you. Right? Now he says, but I have one doubt. Sa bhavan, right? Acharad ghoram, yat tapasu samahita. Right? But I see you performing such austerity. Who are you trying to please? Acharad ghoram, ghor tapasya aap kar rahe ho. You know, Brahma ji, when he goes into meditation, thousands of years he's doing meditation. So he says, Sa bhavan, someone like you, who does all these things, who know everything, who is independent, who is self-sufficient, who creates everything. There is no source who is superior, medium, etc. other than you. But why do you have to perform this austerity? Sa bhavan acharad ghoram yat tapasu samahita. Susamahita is perfectly. You are very perfectly situated. आप इतना सारा तप कर रहे हैं, क्यों कर रहे हैं? Why are you doing this? That gives us a doubt. Parashankam cha yachasi. Ten khedayase nastvam. Right? That one thing gives us a doubt. हमको खेद हो रहा है. About you. Who are you trying to please? That gives me a doubt about your superiority. Everything else is fine, but why do you perform so many austerities? Yeah. And then he tells him, clear my doubts. And then he says, Etan me prichatas sarvam. Right? After asking all these things, sab to bol diya usne. Bolta Etan me prichatas sarvam sarvagya sakaleshwara. You are the sarvagya, you know everything. You are the Ishwar, you are the supreme controller. Right? मैं ये आपसे जानना चाहता हूँ. एतन में पृच्छत सर्वम, ये सब मैं आपसे जानना चाहता हूँ. बुद्धये अनुशासित. Please answer my questions in such a way so that I can understand. I can understand the answers. Vijanihi yathev idam aham. मैं जानना चाहता हूँ so that my intelligence I can grasp this. You know, sometimes somebody asks a question and you answer, you give a long-winded answer, you confuse them. So Naradji is also mindful of his position, right? He's saying, please answer in such a way so that I can understand, right? So the same question, Shukdevji had asked 3 questions, right? Creation, maintenance, and annihilation. And what other powers? Yam yam shakti upashritya, right? What other shakti, the powers that Supreme Lord uses, right? And now Naradji ask these questions in detail. Yeah? So he says, clarify my doubt. Now Brahma clarifies Narad's doubt and destroys his conviction. Now Brahmaji first says to him that you have done a great favor to me by asking me this question. You know how in somebody in corporate world, if somebody asks a question and the presenter says what? Very good question. So this is not something new. We corporate, we have just copied this. It was said by Brahmaji also. Very good question. But Brahmaji said in a different way. Yeah? Brahmaji said that you have asked me this question. Now, to answer this question, I will be able to glorify the Supreme Lord. मुझे भगवान के गुणों के बारे में बताने का opportunity मिलेगा. I will be able to think about, right? Bhagavat Virya Darshane. Right? Bhagavat Virya. This is Lord's glories. Yeah? Bhagwan Kapil Dev tells Mata Devuti, Satam prasangat mam virya samvido. Satam prasangat mam virya samvido. Bhavanti hrit karna rasayanaka. Tad joshanad ashu apvarga vartmani shraddha ratir bhakti anukramash. Yeah? When we talk among the devotees about the glories of the Supreme Lord, then that katha becomes chemical, rasayan for the ears. जैसे हमको gossip कहते हैं ना, हम gossip. Please tell me more. Tell me more. How's it? What happened? Who said what? Oh, great. Please more, right? Karnamrit. So here Kathamrit. Right? So if you hear more and more, then what happens is Shraddha Ratir Bhakti. So by hearing the Katha, you first develop the faith. Then you develop attachment, Rati, and then Bhakti. In this sequence, Shraddha Ratir Bhakti Anukramash. अपने आप आ जाते हैं. So you don't have to say मेरी भक्ति नहीं हो रही है. We just have to listen Hari Katha. Then that Katha enters through the ears and it cleans your heart automatically. And then the process begins. Yeah. So Brahmaji says, thank you, Narad, for asking such a wonderful question, because Bhagavat Virya Darshan, I'll be able to glorify the glories of the Supreme Lord. And then he tells Naradji, no, I am but a subordinate to the Supreme Lord. I'm not the Supreme, but I am the servant of the Supreme Lord. And those who say that, they are saying, what they are saying is, na nritam, na nar ritam. Ritam means satya, na ritam means anritam means asatya, or na anritam means asatya nahi hai. So Brahma ji Narad को कहते हैं, जो तुमने सुना है वो असत्य नहीं है. Because they speak this due to ignorance, अज्ञान. Because उनको knowledge नहीं है, they don't have the right knowledge, they consider me to the Supreme, to be the Supreme. So that's okay, because they don't know, right? And then he says, that Supreme Lord, he's beyond me and I only recreate. And then he gives an analogy, Brahmaji gives an analogy. He says, like sun. He says, due to the light of the sun, all the stars and moons, they shine. Similarly, it is the Supreme Lord. Because of his creation, Rochayami Aham, right? Rochayase Vishwam, that due to the light of the sun, as the whole universe lights up, similarly, due to the energy of the Supreme Lord, I also light up, or I become glorified, right? I do nothing, right? Rochayami Aham. Yeah? And then he says that, but people are bewildered by the Maya. Why do people think me like that? He says, because they are bewildered by the Maya, right? Maya Durjaya. And then Brahmaji then pays his obeisances to the Supreme Lord again. He says, Namo Tasmai Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Dhimahi Yan Maya Durjaya Mam Vadanti Jagatguru. Yeah. So he says, Tasmai Namo Bhagavate. I pay my obeisances to that Supreme Lord Vasudeva. Dhimahi, I also meditate on that Supreme Lord. Yan Maya Durjaya, because of his external energy, which is Durjaya, usko koi nahi par pa sakta, which is very difficult to overcome. Mam Vadanti Jagat Guru. People who consider me to be the Jagat Guru, to be the Supreme, right? I pay my obeisances to that Supreme Lord. So he's establishing that Supreme Lord is the Supreme Lord. I am just a subordinate of the Supreme Lord. And then Naradji asks, what are the symptoms of those people who are affected by the Maya? So Brahmaji says that Maya, external energy, she is ashamed to come in front of the Supreme Lord. She can't even come in front of Supreme Lord because she bewilders the living entities. So she's always ashamed of the Supreme Lord coming in the front. So she always stays behind the Supreme Lord. And people who are bewildered by this Maya, so they are always behind the Supreme Lord. They are never able to come in front of the Supreme Lord. Because they are bewildered by the Maya. Yeah. And then he says, what are the symptoms? The symptom, Brahmaji says, of those people who are bewildered the Maya is Mam Aham. Who says me and mine, they are the symptom, they are bewildered by the Maya. Who says me and mine, this is me and that is mine. भगवान राम जब विभीषण जी आते हैं भगवान राम के सामने, तो विभीषण जी कहते हैं भगवान से कि मैं अधम हूं, ही इज टोटली सबमिटिंग. तो भगवान राम फिर यही कहते हैं, सम्मुख जीव हो ही मोहि जब ही जन्म कोटि अगर ना सही तब. सम्मुख, the moment जीव come in front of me, you just have to come in front of me. जन्म कोटि अगर ना सही तब. करोड़ों जन्मों के आपके जो पाप हैं, sins, they get destroyed in a moment. You just have to come in front of the Supreme Lord. But the problem is we are in front of the Supreme Lord, but we are still behind Supreme Lord. Because we are bewildered by the Maya. Right? So the whole point of these association is to somehow or other, Prabhuji Mataji, get out of this entanglement of the Maya. So this is Brahmaji he has sent Mam Aham. And Bhagwan Kapil will tell Mata Devhuti in third canto when he speaks, chapter number 25, Bhagwan is telling that Mata Devhuti goes and surrenders to the Supreme Lord. और बोलती है भगवान मैं बिल्कुल इसमें इतना गिर चुकी हूँ. तमो अंधम तम प्रभो. वो बोलती है मैंने इतने भोग भोगे हैं भगवान. You know, Mata Devhuti, she was married to Kardamuni. You know the opulence? Ariel mansion, Hawa mein mahal. You know, Ariel mansion, thousands of servants, just by his, like within a second, that Ariel mansion appeared. And they roamed in the universe thousands of years. Thousands of years they enjoyed that opulence. And then Mata Devhuti submits to Bhagwan Kapil Dev and she says, मैंने बहुत भोग भोगे भगवान, इतने भोग भोगे, असत इंद्रिय तर्षणात् येन संभाव्य मानेन. असत इंद्रिय तर्षणात्, because ये इंद्रियां असत हैं. I was thinking कि अब पूरा हो जाएगा, अब पूरा हो जाएगा, है ये संभावना लगती है कि this is it, no more, बस आज और कर लेते हैं. You know, people who drink they say बस that's it, आज last है, you know, आज last है, आज last. So she's saying that, and then she says, by doing that, Bhagwan prapanna andham tamah prabhu, I have fallen into the you know lowest and the lowest of the tama, right? In the well of tama, I have fallen into that. So these are the symptoms of people bewildered by Maya. Yeah? So Brahmaji clarifies that. Now after Brahmaji now has established the Supreme Lord's position superior to himself and clarified Narada's doubt, now Brahma now answers Narada's questions. Now he starts asking the questions. So let's look at the question. What was the question number 1? Yad Rupam. ये 6 question आप please याद करें. It is important. Even if you contemplate on the questions, then you will automatically start thinking of the answers. And when you start thinking of the answers, you will automatically start thinking of the Supreme Lord, because these are coming from the Supreme Lord. So let's think of the answers. Questions first. Yad Rupam. वो क्या रूप है, right? Universe का इसका क्या रूप है? So that is the question asked by Naradji, the first question. Yeah. Now Brahmaji answers his question. So he says, characteristics of the universe. So this is the answer to the first question. He says, Dravyam Kala Karma Swabhavo Jiva Evacha. Dravyam karma kalascha swabhavo jiva evacha, right? Vasudevat paro brahman nacha anya artho tattvata, right? So there is no other essence, there is no other thing superior than Vasudev. And that Vasudev, now he says the characteristics of this universe is dravya. Okay, the first word is dravya. Dravya means these 5 gross elements. What are the 5 gross elements?
The water, air,
yes, fire, yes, Agni, Jal, Vayu, Prithvi, Akash. Okay. So these are the 5 elements. They form together. It's called Dravya. Naturally, we think earth, we think rocks and mountains, etc. But it is said that, I think in some theories they say it's some kind of a homogeneous soup. Pradhan, the first thing that comes out, right? But these 5 elements, they constitute the Dravya, right? And then Jeev, and then the Kal. Kal is the Kalo Asmi. Bhagavan Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Kal is also one of the Lord's energy, right? And then with time, and then Kal, and then the other thing is the Jeev. Jeev is what? The living entity. And living entity, there are two prominent things, and the living entity have karma and swabha. Karma means what? Sum total of all the fruitive activities. And this karma means, in the sense of the whole universe, it means all of our fruitive activities combined together. Not just one, everyone's fruitive activities, right? It also means what you deserve based on your karma, right? And then Swabhav. Swabhav means desires, right? So these 5 things. So the characteristics of the universe, what Brahmaji is telling Naradji is Dravya, 5 gross elements. Then there is Jeev, who is Tata Shakti. Jeev, we are Jeev, right? So who are on the border, Para and Apara. So we can fall on this side, we can fall on other side also. We're trying to fall onto the Para and Apara, you know. Two sides. We're trying to fall onto the positive side, but we are falling into the negative side. Once few devotees ask Srila Prabhupada, we are devotees. Then why does Maya attack us? Why does we go into Maya sometime? Prabhupada had a good laugh and he said, we are always in Maya. Sometime we go into Krishna consciousness. We're always in Maya. So that's Jeev, and Jeev has karma, and Jeev has Swabhav, and Kala is the superior Shakti, right? So they are all dependent on Vasudev, right? So the characteristics of the universe is these: Dravya, Jeev, Kal, Karma, and Swabhav. It will register after some time. That's fine if it doesn't make if it doesn't help you. So that was the first question, and the answer is characteristics of the universe, and he has answered that this is the characteristics of the universe: Dravya, Jeev, Kal, Karma, and Swabhav, but they are all dependent on Vasudeva.
What is Swabhav?
Swabhav is your nature, your desires, right? What you want. Okay? So that's question number one answer. Then question number two. What was the question number two? Yad adhisthana, and question number 5 was Yat param. Adhisthana is ye kiski shelter mein hai, and who is his superior? Param. Right? 2. So then he answers his 2 questions. So he says Narayana Paraveda, Deva Narayana Angaja, Narayana Paramakha, Narayana Param Tapa. No, Narayana Paramakha, Narayana Paraloka. Yeah. Narayana Paro Yogo, Narayana Paratapa, Narayana Param Jnanam, Narayana Paragati. 8. Right? Now we will look at that. So second question was Yad Adhishthanam, what is its shelter, and Yat Param, what it depends on. This universe. Right? So he says Narayan, and Narayan we have already discussed. Narayan, we all understand the definition of Narayan, right? Everybody, जो सब sum total of all the living entities, वो जिसकी शरण में जाते हैं उसको नारायण है. Okay. So Narayana Para Veda, right? So what Brahmaji is telling Naraji is that basically para means source. The meaning of para, we will hear this word para 8 times again. Para means source, and para also means shelter. Okay. So Narayana Para Veda. Ved means all the Veds, all the Shrutis, all the Vedas. So who is the source of Vedas? Vasudev, Krishna, Narayana. So he is the source of all the Vedas. And other way of looking at it is, if you study the Vedas, then what are you trying to do? You're trying to get onto the shelter of Vasudev. So Vedas are under the shelter of Vasudev. By studying the Vedas, you are also trying to get into the shelter of Vasudev, right? So Narayana Paraveda. Vedesya sarve ahameva vedyo. Bhagavan Krishna 15.15 Bhagavad Gita. Yeah? Okay. And then Deva Narayana Angaja. Right? All the demigods, they are the various body parts of Supreme Lord. Right? Other way of looking at it is para. What was the meaning of word para? Source and shelter. Right? So all the demigods, the source of all the demigods is the Supreme Lord, and they are also under the shelter of Supreme Lord. If you are worshipping the demigods, then indirectly who you are worshipping? You are worshipping Krishna. Yeah. Once again, Lord Krishna tells Arjun that who are worshipping the demigods, they are actually worshipping me only, even though they are worshipping the wrong way. ते अपि मामेव कौन्तेय यजन्ते अविधि पूर्वकम्. वो भी मेरी पूजा कर रहे हैं. Okay. So demigods, they are also under the shelter of Narayana. Prabhu, please come. Then Loka. Yeah. Loka means all the planets. Narayana Paraloka. So all the lokas, all the planets, all the universes that you see, they are under the shelter of Narayana. If you are trying to get to any lok, then where are you trying to get to ultimately? Shelter of Narayana. If you're trying to go to America, if you're trying to go to moon, if you're trying to go to Mangal, Mars, wherever you're going, ultimately or any lok, Pitra lok, Swarg lok, anywhere you want to go, ultimately they are under the shelter of Narayana. Right? Or put it this way, whatever is worth taking shelter of, it is under the shelter of Narayana. So this is what Brahmaji is telling to Naraji. Yeah? Then Narayana Paramakha. Makha means sacrifice. Right? All the sacrifice are for Supreme Lord. And Krishna has confirmed this once again. Aham isaro yagnanam bhokta cha prabhurevcha. 9.27. Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna tells Arjuna that I am the bhokta and prabhu of all the sacrifices. So once again, the understanding is whatever sacrifice you are doing, sacrifice doesn't mean just offering fire into the ghee into the fire. Sacrifice also means you have sacrificed your time to come here. So this is a sacrifice. These children, they are sitting here in the program. So they have sacrifice. So the purpose of this sacrifice is to get shelter of Narayana, get mercy of Narayana, right? Or the purpose of this sacrifice is not to do any socialization. Purpose of this sacrifice is to go on to the shelter of Narayana, right? So all the sacrifices lead to Narayana. Narayana para yoga. All the yogas, Ashtanga yoga, Jnana yoga, Karma yoga, Dhyana yoga, Bhakti yoga, whatever yogas you are doing, the purpose is to go to the shelter of the Krishna, Supreme Lord, right? And all these yogas, they are also under the shelter of Supreme Lord, right? So this is Brahmaji again clarifying, very detailed answer. Yat adhisthana, because he's asking, what is its shelter? The whole universe, yeah. And then he says, Narayana paratapa, param tapa, right? Param, once again, remember that word means source and the shelter. And tap means austerity. आप एकादशी का फास्ट कर रहे हो, आप 1 घंटा इतना दूर से आ रहे हो, you are sitting here on the floor, right? You are trying to adjust your other routines. There is all austerity. You could have been somewhere else, or people who are online with us, they could have been somewhere else, but they have planned their time. So all this austerity is for what? Is not to please anyone but Supreme Personality of Godhead Narayana, right? So that is the shelter of adhisthana, another way of looking at it. And then Gyan, all the knowledge that you're trying to acquire. What is the purpose of all the knowledge? The purpose of all the knowledge is to know the Supreme Lord. Yeah. What is it? What is that famous verse in the 7th chapter? Bahunam janmanam ante jnanvan mam prapadyate. Right? And what is the conclusion of their knowledge? Vasudev sarvam iti sa mahatma sudurlabha. All the knowledge, Sara, sum total of all the knowledge, the conclusion is Vasudev sarvam. That is the whole point. Every knowledge is noble, right? If it links to Krishna, that is the whole point. Yeah? So Vasudev param jnana, and then Vasudev paragati. Now, after doing all of this, the whole purpose, gati is the aapki gati kya hogi? Where you want to go. What is your destination? Destination is Narayan. Who wants to go into the shelter of Narayan? Now, after hearing all of this, now Naradji is getting bewildered. Naradji bolte hain Brahma ji ko, ye kya, aap kya bol rahe ho? Sab kuch Narayan, Narayan, then what are you doing? I thought you are the Supreme Lord. Bhoot bhavan puruj hai. मैं तो सोच रहा था सब कुछ आप ने क्रिएट किया है, तो then what do you do? अगर सब कुछ नारायण ही कर रहे हैं तो ब्रह्मा जी फिर उसको कहते हैं तस्यापि दृष्टुर ईशस्य, तस्यापि दृष्टुर ईशस्य कूटस्थस्य अखिल आत्मन सृजम सृजामि, and then he says that all I'm doing is, he says that srishto aham ikshev avichodita. So he says, Narad, I don't do anything. Srishto aham, even I am created by that Supreme Lord Narayan. He says, okay, you are created by the Supreme Lord Narayan. I understand that, but then what else you do? Do you do something independently? Right? At least you have some portfolio. He says, no, I don't have any portfolio. Abhichodita. Right? He inspires me. Okay, he inspires you, then what do you do? Do you still create something? I see you are creating. He says, no. Srijam srijami. Srijam srijami. Srijami is that has already been created. I'm just recreating that. He says, okay. So you are recreating that, but then, okay, But then you could be doing that independently. He says, no, I'm not even doing that independently. Then drishtur. He says, even to do that, drishtur, I'm doing that under his supervision. He's looking at me all the time. Like a super soul is inside you, he is inside me also. Yeah. Once again, Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, what is that verse? Upadrashta Anumanta cha Bharta Bhokta Maheshwara. Upadrashta, I'm the overseer. He says, I'm the overseer, Arjun. I'm seeing what everybody is doing. As a super soul, I'm watching. Upadrashta Anumanta, I sanction. Bharta, I'm the, I take care of the people. Bhokta, and I'm also the enjoyer. Maheshwara, I'm the supreme controller. So Naraji says, then what do? You saying you don't create anything. What he has already been created, you are recreating that. Then you saying he created you also. And then you saying he inspires you to create. And then when you are recreating that, then again you are saying that he is looking at you. He is always watching at you. Then what do you do, my dear father? He says, no, I'm just a servant. And now Brahmaji then as a next step, he explains to him what is a Jeev Tat and what is a Vishnu Tat. He tries to clarify that doubt again. By the way, as I said in the beginning, Naraji knows everything. But sometimes Naraji asks these questions. Sometimes Naraji will go and meet a hunter. Sometimes he will go and instigate Kans to kill the sons of Devaki. Jaldi jaldi maro, Bhagwan jaldi aayenge. Right? So Naraji does all those things. Naraji went और नारद जी ने मैना को बोला कि पार्वती की शादी शिवजी भगवान से करा दो. और जब शिवजी भगवान बारात लेके आते हैं तो मैना बेहोश हो जाती है. पार्वती's mother, she fainted. वो दूल्हे को देख के बेहोश हो गई. ये भगवान शिव ने मुंड की माला पहनी हुई है, गले में सांप लटक रहे हैं. तो मैना कहती है, नारद का मैं कहाँ बिगाड़ा? मैंने नारद का क्या बिगाड़ा था? That he came and told me. नारद जी went and told मैना when पार्वती छोटी थी, तो उन्होंने कहा कि नारद जी ने देखा और नारद जी ने कहा कि इस लड़की के भाग्य में थोड़ी सी प्रॉब्लम आएगी शादी में, तो क्या करना चाहिए? तो फिर उन्होंने कहा कि इसको लड़की को बोलो that she should go and worship Lord Shiva. भगवान शिव की वो करे और भगवान शिव ही वो ऐसे वर हैं, he will be the right husband for her. Ask her to go and do some austerity. And then Mother Parvati spoke to Maina, and then Mother Parvati, she's Sati already. She was Jagdamba. So Mother Parvati then goes to Maina and she says, my dear mother, I also saw a dream tonight. In a dream, somebody came, rishis came, and they told me you should go and do some austerity. And that's where she speaks that famous line, Tapabal prapanch rachahi vidhata, Tapabal Vishnu sakal jar trata, Tapabal Vishnu karahi sanghara, Tapabal shesha dharai mahivara. So she says that Tapabal, austerity, like our Prabhupada used to say, austerity. This is not cheap. If you want to get Krishna, if you want to serve, it's not cheap. It's not that bas mala ghumai or lamp dikha diya Bhagwan aa jaye. So that Mata Parvati says ke tap, he says that came into my dream, mother, and they told me tap ke bal se hi, by the power of the austerity, Brahma ji is srishti ki rachana karte hain. Right? Brahma ji did austerity. In the third canto we will hear that. Tapabal srishti, tapabal prapanch rachai vidhata. Brahma ji tap ke bal se hi isko rachte hain. And then she says, Tapabal Vishnu Sakal Jag Prat. By austerity only, Bhagwan Vishnu is sare universe ko look after karta. By the way, in the 9th chapter, 2nd canto, 9th chapter, we will hear Lord Krishna is telling Brahmaji that I also perform austerity. By austerity only I create this. We'll hear that verse in the 9th chapter. By austerity I create this. By austerity I maintain this. By austerity I destroy this. Tapasa eva srijami. We'll hear that. Right? So austerity. Right? So she explained. Where were we? I lost. Parvati was saying to Mana. Now let's explain the Jeev Tattva and the Vishnu Tattva. Yeah. Okay. So Brahmaji now, Brahma versus Lord Jeev Tattva and Vishnu Tattva. right? So Brahmaji is now establishing the Supreme Personality. So Brahmaji now says that I am also created by Srishto Aham. So he clarified that I am also created by that Supreme Lord. So yes, you have that, and people who think that because they are bewildered by the Maya. I'm not the one who creates. Then he says the Transcendental Lord accepted the three gunas to create this universe, right? Today's verse, the verse number 18 that we discussed, started in the beginning. Sattvam rajas tama iti nirgunasya gunastraya sthiti sarga nirodheshu, right? Sthiti is maintenance, sarga is creation, nirodheshu is annihilation. For this purpose, grahita maya prabhu. He accepts these three modes of nature to create that. Hey, oh Narad, I have nothing to do. So this is all created by the Supreme Lord, and I am also created by. Okay, so that conception is clear. And then he says, these three gunas bind the jeev. Baddhanti nitya mukta mayinam purusham. So now he starts telling him that these three mode of nature, they bind nibadhanti muktam. Even though we are liberated, we are eternal part and party. Mamay vansho jeev loke jeev bhut sanatana. We are eternal. Hum log mukt hain. But because of three modes of nature, we are also entangled. Nibadhanti. We get tied into that. And then he says the jiva cannot see the Lord. Swa lakshit gati brahman. The jiva cannot see the Lord, but the Supreme Lord can see. So basically in this, now what Brahmaji has told Narad is that there is Supreme Lord. Supreme Lord's external energy is Maya. The external energy Maya, because of the Maya, the three modes of material nature, Satogun, Rajogun, Tamogun, right? So those three material modes of nature, they entangle the living entities. And that is why we are all the conditioned souls. And Brahmaji says, Narad, I am also one of those conditioned souls. I am also Jeev Tattva. I am also one of you. I am not the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord is Supreme. So he has answered two questions. Yad Rupam, Yad Adhisthana. And he has also clarified that Supreme Lord is the superior, Jeev Tattva and the Vishnu Tattva. Now he will answer the next set of questions. Yad, creation of the universe. This is very technical, but also very interesting. We'll try to simplify this. So the question is Yata Srishtam, creation of the universe. So the creation of the universe, there are two types of creation. First of all, Prabhuji Mataji. One is the Sarg and one is the Visarg. Yeah. Sargo, Visargo. In the 10th chapter, we'll discuss that. So these are the two main subjects. Sarg is the primary creation, which are created by Purusha incarnation. Karano Dakshaya Vishnu, Garbo Dakshaya Vishnu. Purusha incarnation. So these are the primary creation. And the secondary creation is Srijam Srijami. Brahmaji and demigods, they get engaged in that. Right? But this is about the primary creation, and it is called Karana Srishti, which is the creation of ingredients. So this is also split into two parts, Karan Srishti and Kriya Srishti. Karan is the ingredients and Kriya Srishti is getting those ingredients together. You can visualize it as if you are making a sabji. You are making vegetable pulao, and we'll try to, give that analogy just so we can simplify it for ourselves, right? First getting all the ingredients. Okay. So Karano Dakshaya Vishnu Prabhuji Mataji, he is lying into the Karana ocean. He is lying there. Karano Dakshaya Vishnu. Okay. He's lying there. Purusha incarnation. And then Kal, Jeev, and Jeev, with the Jeev we have Karma and Swabha. We looked at these. These are the five, right? Rayat Rupam. So Swarup jo hai uska. Characteristics of the universe. So one is Kal, which is the time, and the Jeev has Karma and Swabhav. Karma means fruitive activities that you are doing, and Swabhav is your desires. Karma is what you deserve, Swabhav is what you desire. Okay, so these three things. So the Lord's Swa Amsh, his glance impregnates Jiva into the material nature. So how it happens is Karano Dakshaya Vishnu, who is lying on the ocean. Yeah? He breathes out, and when he breathes out, millions of universe come out from the pores of his body. We all have heard that. Yeah, Brahmaji, in his Brahma Samhita, Brahmaji is saying that. Right? We won't discuss that slow because we're running out of time, but just visualize that, right? And then Kal, Jeev, and Kal. Okay. Now what happens is, now what is coming out? those, when the universes are coming out, they are called the seeds. They are called seeds. Some people, they, like I said, some theory says it's a homogeneous soup, all liquid form. Whatever they say, but just visualize it's a seed, right? That has come out, and it is called pradhan. It is called pradhan, that comes out of the pores of the Karanodakshaya Vishnu. And then what happens is, when that comes out, now Supreme Lord, he impregnates jivas into the material nature. Now, impregnates, that doesn't mean, first of all, that the jivas did not exist. So we are always existing. Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna, verse number 12, 2.12. Na tvevaham jatu nasham na tvam neme janadhipa. So Lord Krishna tells Arjun, Arjun, kabhi aisa time nahi tha jab na main exist karta tha, na tum exist karta tha. Na chaiva bhavishyam. Na kabhi aisa time aayega main exist nahi karunga, tum exist nahi karoge. So all the living entities, they are ever existing, eternal. Either they are in the Golok Vrindavan, or the conditioned souls, when the winds up, we go back into the, through the universe, we go back into the Karanodakshaya Vishnu. When the next Srishti happens, because of our previous karma and our desires, we get impregnated into the next universe, when the next creation happens, right? So this is how the conditioned soul, we are just going around, and Brahmande, we are just going from one Brahman to another. Yeah. So Karanodakshaya Vishnu, he breathes out the universe. By his glands, he impregnates the universe, and impregnates means the comes out, which is called pradhan, and by his glands, the jivas, the kal shakti, and the jiva, which is signified by karma and swabhav, it gets impregnated. Okay. And then three modes of material nature, they are in undifferentiated, unmixed state. Right? So the three modes of material nature, they are also there now, but they are in the unmixed state. Right? Then what happens is, as a next state, now there is a, you have read, or you would hear when we do the next chapters, as there is a guna vyati karat. Now Brahmaji tells guna vyati karat parinamo swabhavata. Now when there is a agitation, when there is agitation, when the Supreme Lord is looking at it, there is agitation, and these three gunas, then they get mixed up, right? And then the pradhan, it gets converted into mahat tattva. Yeah, tasam brahma mahad yonir aham bij pradapita. Bhagwan Krishna in the material modes of nature 14.4, Lord Krishna is telling Arjuna, aham bij pradapita. I am the seed giving father. So universe comes out, once again I repeat, universe comes out, it is in the raw state, there is nothing. Supreme Lord looks at it and he impregnates it with the jiva. Kal, his Kal Shakti, Kal Shakti, Karma, Swabhav, he impregnates it. The modes, as they get mixed up, initially it was Pradhan, then it gets converted into the Mahat Tattva. Okay? And then that Mahat Tattva, it is predominantly in Sattvagun and Rajogun, right? And then from this Mahat Tattva, Ahankar comes, false ego. The false ego comes, which is predominantly in the mode of ignorance. Initially, it is mode of goodness and mode of passion, and then comes Ahankar, which is predominantly in the mode of ignorance. And it has three, partitions: goodness, passion, and ignorance, as we know. So three kind of ahankars, right? Ahankar means aham karoti iti ahankar. I am the doer. That is what is called ahankar. Sometimes the ahankar is mode of goodness, sometimes it's mode of passion, sometimes in mode of ignorance. Okay, so then that happens. Now from that, from the goodness, passion, and ignorance, now the Gyan Shakti, Kriya Shakti, and Dravya Shakti. These three Shaktis are coming. Okay. And Dravya Shakti is called Adi Bhut, which is this Bhut. The five elements. Okay. And Adhyatma. Okay. So Adi Bhut, Adhyatma, and Adi Dev. Further simplify, let's just go to the lowermost cells. So from the mode of goodness, Prabhuji Mataji, the mind and the 10 sense devatas come. Mind and the 10 sense devatas, they are the demigods. 10 sense demigods. Okay, we'll look at what are those 10. From the Kriya Shakti, in the mode of passion, which gives pran and 10 senses and intelligence. 5 karmendriya and 5 jnanendriya. Right? Now 5 karmendriya is like, your hands, leg, regeneration, evacuation, and the talk. Right? So these are the 5 karmendriya. Right? And these are subtle senses, by the way. These are not the gross senses. Gross will come from the adibhut. Subtle means what? Your ability to walk. It doesn't mean your leg. You get my point? It is a very subtle sense. Your ability to walk, your ability to talk. Right? It's a subtle sense. For example, there are people who are in the hospital. They have their legs and all the body parts, but they evacuate through pipe and they fed through pipe. So that is a subtle sense. That's what I mean. Right? The gross sense, and there is a subtle sense. This nose is your gross, but the subtle is the smell. You understand? So there is a difference. Sometimes you don't even have a nose. You have an accident, your nose is cut, but you can still smell. So let's not get confused, right? So once again, sorry, I hope it doesn't get too confusing. We'll try to simplify this, but just focus on this. From ahankar, there are 3 categories of ahankar: goodness, passion, and ignorance. And then from the goodness comes mind and the 10 sense devatas, right? Presiding deities of these 10 senses. And we will look at what are those 10 presiding deities. In the 3rd canto, when we read, there actually, when Bhagavan Kapil Dev when Maitreya Rishi is describing to Vidurji, when the creation happened, all these senses are created. And these sense devatas, they actually went and prayed to the Supreme Lord. They said, my dear Lord, you have created us, but we can't do anything because they're lying in a separate state. They are not brought together. This is actually the creation happened. This is how we got created. Yeah. And then the pran and the intelligence. So 10 jnanendriya. Jnanendriya, they get their shakti from intelligence. What is that? Intelligence tell you jnanendriya. How do you discriminate? What to eat, what not to eat? A little child whose intelligence is weaker, he will go sometime, the little child will crawl and pick up stone from the ground and put into his mouth. Keep the earth and then eat the earth, because that intelligence is weak. Pran gives you shakti. Let's say people who are doing fasting on Ekadashi, Nirjala Ekadashi, next day they say, Prabhuji, feeling a little bit slow. So the pran gets weaker. Yes. So pran and intelligence, they are born from your Kriya Shakti. And Kriya Shakti come from mode of passion. Yeah? Now 5 tanmatras and 5 gross elements. So these are the 10, first of all. So like I said, mind and the 10 sense devatas. So these are the sense demigods, Prabhuji Mataji. Ear, the sense devatas, dig devatas. Eyes are Surya, the sun god. So eyes can see because they are the presiding deity's sun. Yeah, Vayu. Like I said, when Maitreya is telling, we'll discuss this in more detail in the 3rd canto, but basically eyes, ears, and skin, they were all created. Like, we were still not mobile, but these were created. So these demigods, they actually went and prayed to the Supreme Lord that, my dear Lord, please empower us so that we can serve you. So it will be lying for thousands of years like this. And then when the Supreme Lord again gives his cohesive energy, due to cohesive energy, then all these things are brought together. Right now, they are all lying separately. There is no connection. Okay. Now going to the, so this, look at the Adhibhut, the mode of ignorance. So from that, the 5 tanmatras and the 5 gross elements. 5 gross elements you see on the right hand side: ether, air, fire, water, and earth. These are the Panchbhut. The bodies, the Sharir, our body is made from these Panchbhut. Is it clear enough on the screen? Yeah. So now, first of all, how they get created. The first, it starts from the subtlest and then it goes to the grossest. The subtlest is the sound. First, the sound is created. That's why they say if person is about to die, the hearing sense is still there. So the sound comes first, which is the subtlest. Can you see sound? Nothing. Subtlest. From sound comes ether. From ether then comes touch. From touch comes air. From air comes foam. From foam comes fire. This is all in the shlokas. I'm just reading through. This is what Brahmaji is telling Naradji. Right? From fire comes taste. From taste comes water. See, from subtle to the gross. This is how it's going. And then from water comes smell. And then from smell comes earth. And if going upwards, the earth will have smell, taste, form, touch, and sound. But water cannot have smell. Water only have taste, form, touch, and sound. Fire only has form, touch, and sound. Fire doesn't have a taste. Can you taste the fire? If you put a matchstick on your fire, on your tongue, can you taste it? You would rather lose your taste. Right? Right? So it doesn't have taste. The air doesn't have a form, but air will have touch and sound. You can feel the air blowing. You know, when the wind is blowing, you can feel on your body. You can also hear the sound. But air can carry the sound. Vayu riva gandhani visha. Why air can carry the sound? No, air can carry the fragrance. Air can also carry the earth. Right? When there is a tornado, the air can carry the dust and everything. Right? So like this, it goes creation from sound to earth, and then earth has all these. And as you go, ether only has sound. Ether doesn't have touch, form, taste. Badal garazte hain, right? But you can't touch the, you can't touch, doesn't have a form. You can't taste the clouds. You can't smell the clouds. Right? So like this, Prabhuji Mataji, all these elements are created. So this is all called Karana Shakti. And also called creation of ingredients. It's like you are ready to make a vegetable soup. So you got vegetable, you got water, you got spices, everything is ready. But they are not mixed up yet. So ingredients are ready now for the creation. Okay? Not just the jivas, but everything else is going to be created. And these are, like I said, 3.5, we can see more details. Then these were the 23 elements. So these 23 elements, Mahat Tattva, Ahankar, 3 Ahankars, 5 Tanmatras, we had 5 and 5, right? And 5 gross elements and 11 senses. They are lying in an unmixed state. Bodily form cannot take place. As long as the 23 elements are not assembled, bodily forms cannot place. And then here Brahmaji is telling, Yadete asangata bhava bhutendriya yam mano guna. Asangata, they are separated. So all these 23 elements are lying separate. Human body is not formed. Okay, then what happens next? Now assembly happens by Lord's Maya Shakti. Now the Supreme Lord's Maya comes. Mayesho Swa Mayaya. His Maya Shakti. Okay. Now the cohesive energy. Now after, like I said, they are lying. Now Dig Devtas are going and praying to the Supreme Lord that, my dear Lord, please connect us with your energy so that we can serve you. There are elaborate prayers in the third canto when Maitreya is describing to Vidurji, Deva Uchu, and they go and pray. Please see, this is how your body is formed. Demigods had to go and pray for you. And what are you using your body for? Think about it. These elements, the body, human body that we are carrying. Are we just carrying it like a bag of stool and urine? Is that what it is? No, it is not meant to be that. Something serious. Yeah. So now they go and pray. And the Supreme Lord then he says, Tada samhatya cha anno anya bhagvat shakti chodita. By the energy, by the cohesive energy of the Supreme Lord, now all these 23 elements, they get combined. Right? After thousands of years of inactivity, right? Garbho Dakshaya Vishnu entered the universe and enlivens. Now this is the last activity performed by Karano Dakshaya Vishnu. 33, cohesive energy. All the demigods went and prayed to whom? Karano Dakshaya Vishnu. Garbho Dakshaya Vishnu hasn't come as yet. Right? So that egg is lying on the Karana ocean. That egg has been impregnated by the vision glance of the Supreme Lord. All these 23 elements are there. And now the egg is lying for thousands of years there. This is how things got created. Right? And now with the cohesive energy, Karana Dakshaya Vishnu, through his energy, they gets all combined. Okay. Now, after that, after thousands of years, now Garbho Dakshaya Vishnu, he enters into that universe. Varsha Pura Sahasrante Tadandam Udke Shayam. Sahasrante, thousands of years, that egg was lying into the water. Now the Supreme Lord, he expands himself as Garbho Dakshaya Vishnu. So this is formed initially by Karano Dakshaya Vishnu, who is outside. Now Garbho Dakshaya Vishnu, he enters into the universe. Yes, and then he says, Sa eva Purusha Tasmat Andam Nirbidhya Nirgata. Nirbidhya, he entered into the universe and he came out. Came out doesn't mean that Garbho Dakshaya Vishnu went out of it. What it means is he detached. He is not entangled into that, like we use that, spider analogy. He created this, he entered into this, but Nirgata means he came out of it. He is part of it, but he is not into this. Understand? So he does that. And Sahasro, and that Supreme Lord now, as he enters into the universe, Garbho Dakshaya Vishnu, he's lying there and he thus expands into the Virat Roop. Now we are going back to the Virat Roop, visualization of the Supreme Personality of God. Okay. So now Garbho Dakshaya Vishnu, so this is called Kriya Shrishti, creating a functional universe. So now a functional universe is created by the Supreme Lord. Right? The primary creation is done. And then he will hand over to Brahmaji to do the secondary creation. Now, after doing this, now last few verses, now this once again the Virat Roop. I told you Virat Roop we discuss in first chapter, we'll discuss now also. Now that Virat Roop of the Supreme Lord, how it is described, they're saying Purushasya Mukham Brahma Shatram Tejasya Bhava. So now this Virat Roop who is lying, we often in South India we see Purusha Sukta prayers we recite. Sahastra Mukham, yeah. He has thousands of mouths, he has thousands of heads, he has thousands of arms, thousands of legs, right? That's Supreme Lord. So similarly, Purushasya, that Virat Roop, he has Brahmana, they are coming from the mouth of that Virat Roop. Kshatriya, they are his arms, Vaishyas are his thighs, and Shudras are his legs. So they different, Kalpita. So here what Brahmaji is saying is that different intelligent people, they have different imagination of that Virat Roop, different form, right? Now another form is in terms of planetary system. So they say Satyalok is head. We looked at that, initially in the first chapter. Once again, visualizing that Supreme Lord, that Virat Roop. And another way of looking at is Brahmaji is now telling that another way they say is from the chest to head, all the upper planetary system, like Swarglok, Maharlok, Janlok, Taplok, and Brahmalok, right? So they are all above the navel, yeah. So they're all considered. Then Bhuvarlok, which is the middle planetary system. Bhuvar, Prithvi, and then below Swarg, and then Bhulok, the lower planetary system. Atal, Vitala, Sutala, Talatal, Mahatal, Rasatal, and Patal, the 7 lower planetary systems. So these are the different way of visualizing that Virat Kosh, right? So this is the now third question answered. What was the first question? Yad Rupam, Yad Adhishthanam, Yad Param, and the third and the next question that Brahmaji answered is Yad Srishtam Idam Prabhu. How this Srishti is getting created. Now in the next chapter, we will look at other questions. What was the other question? The other question was Yat Samstham, how he winds up this universe. Yeah? And then he asked, other question was Yachcha, what is it made of? So there will be more details about this about this creation. So there will be answered that. But the whole point of this is, I hope it is not too confusing, but the whole point that I was coming to this is Lord Krishna in 10th chapter, when he's describing his opulence, right? And he concludes in the last verse, he tells Arjun, Kim etena bahuna, Athva etena kim gyatena tava Arjuna, right? Athva etena bahunena, Athva etena gyatena, yeah. Or by knowing so much Arjun, what purpose does it serve? Yeah. By knowing so much, what purpose will it serve? Just know that Vishtabhyam aham idam kritsanam ekan shena stito jagat. Just know that by my one amsh, just my one ansh, I pervade this whole universe. And I sustain this whole universe. Visthabhya aham idam. Kritsanam, the whole universe I pervade just by one ansh. Sthitam, and I sustain this whole universe just by one particle of mine. So Arjun, what is the need to know so much? Yeah. Oh Arjun, why do you want to know so much? So the whole purpose, even though we want to know this, but we want to know this for the purpose of understanding the greatness of the Supreme Lord, right? So that we again and again get the point across that we are created by the Supreme Lord. So we should be grateful to that, right? That is the whole move. But ultimately, the whole aim is to develop that devotional service to the Supreme Lord. So we will stop here now. Prabhuji, Mataji, online, do you have any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Karita Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Very well described.